This is one of 5 processing centres for asylum seekers when they first arrive in Sweden. We're in Marsta, just north of Stockholm. This is the first place they come in here. Their details are taken. Normally, for most of the last year, about 600 to 800 people have been arriving every week from all over the world, not just from Syria. But in the last few weeks, that number has risen dramatically to about 1,600 or 1,800. And nearly all of that increase is people from Syria, either Syrians or stateless Palestinians from Syria. They come in here where their fingerprints are taken, their details are taken, and their applications are put in motion. If they're successful, Sweden is the only country in the European Union giving asylum seekers from Syria permanent right of residence. Well, it's a bit of a damp and gloomy day here at the Swedish Parliament. There is a long tradition here, though, of helping refugees fleeing from conflict. But Sweden's unilateral decision to offer Syrians seeking asylum the permanent right of residence, well, that clearly makes this the favoured destination in Europe. So can Sweden cope with the numbers which might come here? Well, in that building over there, that's where the Migration Minister, Tobias Billström, sits. He didn't want to come out into the wet, so I went inside to ask him what he thinks the rest of Europe should be doing.
I think that we really have to work with this in a coherent way. We have already from the start said that we are willing to grant asylum to those who need it, but we would like to see more countries in the European Union do the same. It is not our decision which is the problem. I would say that the problem is the differences within the European Union.
This is one of the Syrian community centres in the Stockholm area. A map of the home country, and over here, other pictures on the wall reminding people of many of the things they love which have been left behind. It's tough, but inevitably the war has forced many people into exile. Some of them have been here for years, others have been here for several months now on temporary residence permits. But there's good news for them too from these new rules introduced last month. Anyone who was here on a temporary permit should now be able to make that permit permanent. And if they can do that, then they can also bring over spouses and children, bring them to Sweden and potentially to safety. But for the moment, Sweden is the only country in the EU offering such an opportunity. And it means that Europe has no single policy on how to deal with what is now the worst refugee crisis since the Second World War, and a crisis which is right on Europe's doorstep.